So, guys, we got a piece of information today out of UBS, which was some data looking back over the past couple of years, and the gap between rich and poor in Australia is getting worse and worse by the day. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this, but Joe, we keep being told that we are an incredibly empathetic country, a country that doesn't want to operate like the United States, but we get some data that tells us this is the case. And I've got to follow up with the second question here. So why is the government taking $1,500 off people who are already poor enough?
Yeah, look, I think it's probably a pretty bad time to be clawing that money back. We'll see what they come up with in the budget. Personally, I'm not a big fan of talking about inequality. I think it's much more helpful and informative to actually talk about disadvantage, because when you talk about inequality, it just means you're pointing at Bill Gates or Warren Buffett and saying, oh, look how rich they are, whereas everyone else isn't a billionaire. But I think it's definitely a problem. So there's no problem with people being billionaires as long as everyone else is doing okay, as long as there's a safety net for everyone else. The problem is that that is not happening anymore. And the real problem, and I think the UBS data had some of this, which was that there was a huge amount of confidence in the economy among people with more money, as there would be, than there were among people on Struggle Street. That all makes perfect sense, right? The problem is that these confident people are going to go out and spend because they think that nothing's wrong, which is going to keep inflation high, which is going to crunch the people on the bottom even more. So instead of, I think, just all this talk about inequality and rich and poor, the truth is there are more people who have been lifted out of poverty, hundreds of millions in the last few decades, and in any time in history, we've got to look how we can lift the rest up as well.
That's true, but according to the latest census, we got the data a couple of weeks ago, there are more homeless people in Australia than ever before.
That's
and
right.
Bridget, this is the time when they are going to increase taxes on 10 million people. Now, again, I don't care that it was both sides of the last election. They both can change their mind, and they should change their mind going into May.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul, and I think your opening remarks were spot on. The people that get hurt the most in a high inflationary environment, doesn't matter whether it's in Australia, Botswana, Argentina or the US, are the poorest. And the quicker we can get inflation under control, the better. And whilst we're looking at the, the dodginess of Chalmers with the low to middle income offset that you're talking about, the $1,500, these are not rich Australians, these 10 million people. That is your kids' swimming lessons for the year, and that most parents struggle to actually pay, and those costs are going up. I think the test for Chalmers going in is he going to get the inflationary environment under control so that the poorest in Australia are actually going to be better off? And that means tackling things like the NDIS, aged care, etc. And as circumstances change, a nimble and a good government needs to change their strategy. And these guys have been talking up a big plan for a long time. Let's see it.